Raising a well-behaved child in this world requires strict discipline and punishment. Today, we will look...
No, we will not.
At the top of the episode, we were talking about new segments that we're going to do, and one of them is going to be Hyperfixation of the Week. Which is really just an excuse for Tori to talk about Rent and Hamilton and me to talk about mid-century modern and books. But yeah, Tori, what is your
storytellers? So,
what's your current hyperfixation?
Benjamin Rush.
Is this a founding father again?
Yeah, but you haven't heard of him, have you? You haven't heard of him. Do you want to know why you haven't heard of it?
I'm just glad you didn't see Samuel Adams, because that's been your hyperfixation for like the entire break from Childproof. It's just, if I said something, Tori would immediately come back with, Samuel Adams. Ah!
I could still do that. Like, we could just keep going.
No, tell me about Benjamin Rush.
Okay, so
no. You have 1 minute to tell me about Benjamin Rush.
I have as long as I want to. I have power to stop and start this recording as I want. You're not my mom. Okay.
That's not saying much.
Okay. So, Benjamin Rush. You haven't heard of him, right? Do you know why?
Why haven't I heard of Benjamin Rush?
Because he died first. So here's the thing that you need to understand. Benjamin Rush was the first Surgeon General of the American Army, right, during the Revolutionary War. And he was this incredible doctor of the time, and he was the doctor to most of the other founding fathers. Very close friends with John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. Yeah. And the thing that is also interesting about Benjamin Rush is he was a gossip. He wrote everything down. He was, from what I gather, this guy talked as much as I do. Okay. He loved to talk. He was sometimes one of my favorite quotes from this biography I'm reading of him is when people would be upset with him. It says that he had a habit of forgiving himself before asking for forgiveness, because like out of context that sounds bad, but it was really because he usually had good intentions and like wouldn't understand and like the politics of the way that people were supposed to behave in this like medical hierarchy of the beginning. But Benjamin Rush was the first person, at least one of the first, to actually say that mental illness and addiction were health issues. He kind of founded the idea of psychiatry, which obviously has a whole lot of issues on its own. But that it was thought of back then is pretty incredible. And so he knew everything about everyone, and he kept journals about everything and everyone. He had about 8 journals he would write in all the time for different reasons, from his medical stuff to who he was talking to. He kept all his letters. And so then he died first out of this trio of friends, and people were like, we should gather his writings. We should write about him. And they reached out to Adams, and they were like, hey, bud, like, can we have your letters and stuff? And he was like, no, because Benjamin Rush knew everything about them. He had all the gossip, and because he was their doctor, he even knew like their bathroom habits. And so to protect their own legacies,
Johnny and Tommy were like, no,
literally.
No.
So to protect their own legacies, they kind of buried his. And that's why we don't learn about Benjamin Rush.
You don't learn about Benjamin Rush. So that's been your hyperfixation.
Yeah.
Benjamin Rush.
Right now. We'll see. Whatever book I read next will probably be my next one. But
So I can't stop watching lawn mowing videos.
What?
Yeah.
I
can't. I found like 8 different channels. Spencer from SB Mowing is my favorite, but I found like 8 different channels of just guys who do lawn work.
I can see how that could be satisfying.
It is very satisfying.
Yeah.
SB Mowing does a whole bunch of like really big transformations, but some of these guys are the golf course lawn guys where they're like sanding it. Some of these guys are just cutting their lawn. They film themselves cutting their lawn. So it's not like a dramatic before and after. It's just, it's grown and now it's trimmed. I keep watching. I feel like probably because just like you end up studying French, I'm like, this is overwhelming. Yeah. I want to see grass be less grassy.
It's cathartic.
I think it is. But that's been my hyperfixation. I did a deep dive on the various cutting apparatus of weed whackers.
Oh.
Did you know there's like 4 different types of
Do you know they're actually called weed eaters?
No, actually they're not.
That's the one we got. It said weed eater on the box because I've always called it a weed whacker. And then I came to Kentucky, but I don't know. In Kentucky, they also say catty corner instead of kitty corner. So,
So yeah, weed whacker, weed eater, string trimmer.
Why is
There's a
there
bunch
so
of
many
different names.
types?
But no, there's 4 different like little blade type things that can go in there that are super common. There's also all sorts of weird ones that no one really likes. But yeah, no, but I know more about string trimmers, weed whackers, weed eaters than any one person who does not actually use them ever.
Yeah.
Needs
Last
to
year,
know.
I broke my lawnmower by hitting a piece of rebar with it.
That's
So,
very Kentucky of you.
uh-huh.
Why was there rebar in your backyard?
It was by my overgrown garden plot.
Oh,
So,
okay.
You know.
It's probably a steak or something.
Yeah, it was because I never got to that at that point. I did grow peppers this past summer, and by grow peppers I mean I planted those seedlings and then totally forgot about them, but they did grow peppers. So thank you for listening to Childproof, and we want to hear from you. So email us at childproofmail@gmail.com and let us know what topics you want to hear us talk about, what segments you might want, what child-proofed episodes might you want to hear. We want to hear from you. We miss hearing from you.
And be sure to give the Childproof podcast on YouTube. That's Childproof podcast on YouTube if you're listening to us, but want to see us too, even if you don't ever intend to watch us. If you're a longtime listener and fan of Childproof, please, 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 if you've got a YouTube channel or if you've got a YouTube account, if you've got a Gmail account, go to YouTube, give us a follow. Trust me, it helps.
It helps us a lot, especially now that we're doing this all on our own. Like a little follow will go a long way. We appreciate you, friends.
For right now, you get this massive break in ads because Betches was handling all of the ad sales, which is also great that we are now in control of that because we don't have to talk about bras anymore. I love this, but we actually pay for this podcast with ad revenue that we will get on YouTube.
Yes.
So following us on YouTube helps us pay for the podcast.
Because as it turns out, you can't
It's
just like
not
record
free.
it for free. I assume you could if you were together, but we're not.
Right.
We're in different states. But while you're on YouTube, you should also give our personal channels a follow. So I am Tori Phantom, and I'm Tori Phantom in all the places. And on YouTube, you can find Gwenna at Pleasant Peasant Media, and in all the other places at Mama Cusses.
Be sure to leave us a rating, same as always on Spotify and Apple. That also helps. And remember, sometimes our kids are the assholes.
And sometimes it's us.
Mostly it's Benjamin Rush.
No, it wasn't him. It was Jefferson.
That's Gans.